22.1. Pretty awesome workout. If you've been doing your homework and if you are one of my athletes, you're happy. This should be a fun workout. Manageable reps, fun movements. A little bit of a longer domain for this workout, and it's a little bit of a longer domain because it's gonna get intense pretty hard, pretty fast, right? So one thing that you have to consider, and is the first thing that you have to consider, is that both the box jumps, the jump overs, and the dumbbell snatches are very anaerobic movements, very power driven movements. Hip flexion, hip extension, opening of the hips, closing of the hips, breathing muscles are gonna be target, lower back is gonna be target. Lots of power generation in short amount of time. That means high heart rate. That means also fast cycling time, right? In both, you know, like you don't have a burpee to buffer the box jumps. I know how that sounds, but like you don't have it, so you're gonna there's not gonna be a lot of aerobic anything there, right? Like it's gonna be intense right away. The wall walks are more of a slower movement. They're hard because you're upside down, so you cannot breathe very well, but you can play with the rest time and so on. But what that means is that we have 15 minutes of a highly pair of high power output movements, highly anaerobic movements, paired with a third movement, the wall walks, that will target your shoulder stamina and that will not allow you to recover very well because you're gonna be upside down, and even when you're resting you're gonna be either in a laying down position or in a downward dog position or something of the sort. So that is it, high intensity right from the beginning till the end. 15 minutes is on the longer side for a workout of this intensity. It's not a super long workout, but it's on the longer side. It's a moderate, like it's enough. It's enough time. Good. So what that tells you is that when you're thinking about this workout, and this is the theme for this whole video, is that you're gonna be looking for one thing, and that thing is not speed, which is the fault that most people will do in the open, but it is consistency in terms of pacing, in terms of quality of movement, in terms of the movement itself. Consistency. And, sorry, one last thing, consistency in terms of rest, because the rest has to be very intentional. None of the movements allow you to breathe. All your rest has to be done intentionally. Don't let it just happen to you. If you're like, well, now I have to break, you're losing. So you have to be intentional of your breaks, intentional of how much you're gonna rest and where, right? So that's the most important thing. Consistency, and be very strategic about when and how you're taking your breaks. Because you will have to. If you don't have to take breaks, you're an elite athlete, you have more than 10 rounds, good for you. Really, good for you, that's awesome. Anyhow, so let's go movement by movement, and then we'll talk about a general overall arching strategy. So on the wall walks, make sure that you read the new standard. There's a little bit of change with the distance of the tapes. I have the white tape for the females and the blue tape for the male. The distance between the first tape and the wall is still 10 inches and it's the same as before. Good. On the wall walks, things that are gonna benefit you are first to chill. Second, try to start with the fingers as close to the bottom edge of the tape as possible. You just need to talk with the fingers, and when you pull the first time, pull, you see how I'm pushing as high as I can here, so that the first steps are very long, and then you know this part, hand, clap, clap, right? The plop is fine. Just make sure the hand is here, they just plop. It's not a problem. You don't need the bouncy thing that people were having. That's just a distraction. You're not gonna hurt yourself, nothing's gonna happen. But the start, it's important. So push up and away from the wall so that you start very high, and the first steps can be very long. Touch, 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 down. That's it. Good. When we talk about strategy, we will talk about how to break these ones apart. The tendency is to be like, well, I don't need to break them, there are 3. That's silly, I'll explain why in a second. But when you're thinking about this, you can break and rest in this position, fine. Or you can break and rest in this position, child pose. Or you can, as an athlete was telling me the other day, this is actually a really restful position to hold. If you're very familiar with that position and you can breathe there, that's also a good position. But just keep in mind that in terms of efficiency, you want to have the biggest steps you can with your hands. And again, on that start, push away and high so that the first hand step is very big, right? So you minimize that. Good. That's technical focus for these guys. We'll talk about strategy in a second again. Then you go right into the dumbbell. Look how I have my setup. Wall box. Dumbbell slightly to the side. Slightly to the side. I don't want to be thinking in my head when I'm doing the jumps, where's the dumbbell? I want to have it there so it's not in my head. Right, so slightly to the side, and then dumbbell snatches. I really think, and you have heard me say this before, that the most efficient snatch is the power snatch. For the same reasons that you wouldn't muscle snatch the barbell, you shouldn't muscle snatch this dumbbell snatch unless you can do lots of rounds. And by lots of rounds I mean 8, 9 or more. But if you can do only 5, you're just, if it is because you don't have the movement, because your body cannot produce a power snatch, that's fine. That's fine, there's no problem, do that. It's no time to change it. But this movement, the more muscle one, is going to target 2 things. Lower back and shoulder. And it's going to make that movement very muscular, very anaerobic. And then you're going to have to jump, lower back, and then you're going to have to go into a stamina movement on the shoulders. So, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. Versus this, where you're using momentum, right? And then, well, momentum and brain, to be fair. But then you save the muscle, and this is a very muscular workout. So my advice is, if you have power dumbbell snatches, dumbbell power snatches, go with power. The switch, definitely, if you can switch in the air, practice it. It's not very hard. There's no standard on where that switch has to happen. So you can look at the bell. Look at the bell and just let it go and grab it. Play with it. If you have never done it, it's easy to learn. Play with it, have your eyes on the bell switch. Practice with light dumbbells until you have it in the warm-ups, and then go for it. If in your warm-up sets that change is not spot on, don't fuck with it. Change on the ground. This is not the moment to fuck with things. Good. So, power, switch in the air, and what you want from here, from this movement, is if you're doing power, you're gonna be very able to do this methodically, because you're gonna be able to come here, nice it up, a little bit squattier than deadlifting, and that will allow you to use the legs a lot more. I know we're using legs for the jump, but the legs will survive, and the legs don't mess with your breathing. Awesome. And so Squatty setup, jump, catch, breathe. Squatty setup, jump, catch, breathe. Right? And then you can cycle and talk, call your mom. It's a zone 2 experience. Nah, not really. Not really, but you know what I mean. So, if we were methodical there, we're gonna be methodical here. Squatty position, catch, breathe, switch, so on. And then the box jumps, there's a lot of variations here. So, it's a jump over. If you're doing it RX, you have to jump, but everybody has to step down. There's several ways. You could jump sideways. You can go parallel to the box. You can go here. You can go jump forward, rotate, and so on. There's many ways in which you can do this. Be careful, because most people here is gonna get trapped into what is the fastest way to jump, and that's very stupid. I'll tell you why. Because remember what I said at the beginning, this workout is not about doing the movement fast, that's rushing. This workout is about being consistent, because that's what's gonna get you through the 15 minutes. I don't care if your repetition per time is faster this way, which it is. I actually have to step down, I'm sorry about that. But the parallel jump is gonna be a lot faster, but it's gonna cook you. And it's gonna produce you a lesser score. So it will be faster at the beginning, but it will be less efficient. You're using a lot of energy, producing little work. Right? And so don't fall in the trap of speed, look for consistency. Something that you can flow, something that allows you to also pace. I am a big believer of just going in circles for this movement. So if you jump, turn a little, step, you're in this position, and then jump again, and find the side, the rotation that is comfortable for you. Usually the dominant side, right? Like, so you're gonna jump towards the right, rotate, jump towards the right, I'm a right-handed person, and so on. And that is gonna allow me to be consistent, right? Like, I'm not gonna change anything. Every rep is gonna look the same. Jump, step, jump, step, jump, step. I can speed it up, slow it down, whatever, but I'm consistent. You could do something else, right? Like you could do this side, one here, this side, one here. That's fine. I don't care what you choose, as long as you can reproduce the same movement over and over and over. Because consistency allows you to, as I said, slow it down or speed it up. And that's crucial, because that's how you pace these things. If you are doing 3 sets, 3 jumps, and then you're here, just looking at the box, again, and then another 3. It's like if you're running a 5K, and you go like, I'm gonna sprint for a mile, and I'm gonna sprint for a mile. It's not a very good strategy in a long workout. It's just not going to work very well. Right? And so what you want is consistency, something that allows you to speed up and so on. That introduces you to the last point of this video, which is strategy. So, as I said, the strategy here is based on what is gonna give you more consistency. Be very honest with yourself about one thing. How heavy is the dumbbell for you? If the dumbbell for you is manageable, meaning you have enough data of your previous workouts that tells you like, hey, I can sustain sets of 12 if the context is right. And I'm saying that with that asterisk. Then it's gonna be important to do those, to hang on to those. Why? Because in the box jumps, if you're following what I'm telling you and you're being able to find a consistent mechanics, you don't need to break them. You just slow them down, right? Like, so you're here, jump, step, breathe, jump, step, breathe, jump, step, breathe, right? Like, or you can speed them up and so on. you don't want to break them. If you like, you don't really want to break them. You don't want to your brain to allow to break them, because then you're gonna start breaking them and breaking them and breaking them, and at the end of the workout, whew, you're gonna break them for 20 to 30 seconds. So these ones we're not gonna break no matter what. If you're thinking, no, I'm gonna have to break them, then start slower, right? Consistent but slower. Good. These guys, the 3 wall walks. Be honest with yourself. Do you think in the 5th round, if you make it there, in the 6th round, are you gonna be doing them fast and unbroken? Whatever that means. Unbroken in these ones doesn't make a lot of sense, but whatever that means, probably not. Good. In the dumbbell snatches and here you're not gonna be able to catch your breath all that much, and breaking here is not gonna make a lot of sense. But here, chances are you're gonna have to break, so use it. Use this as your pacer. Let your shoulder breaks and give your shoulders a break, and use the rest there smartly, right? So this is how I will approach it and how I did. You're gonna do 1 rep, breathe, watch the clock, 5 to 10 seconds, 1 more rep, 5 to 10 seconds, and get out of there. And when you get out of there, the mentality that you're having and the mindset that you're fostering the wall walks is like, okay, I'm breaking here because then I'm gonna get through those snatches and I'm gonna get to the box jumps, and then I know I come back here and I break and I rest, and that's what's gonna keep you consistent, right? Like, so I want first wall walk rest, second wall walk rest, third wall walk right to the dumbbell, right to the box jumps, go back to the wall, get that wall walk, that first wall walk done, that you know that rest is coming after one's rest, right? So the strategy here for me is really knowing that this is gonna be, no matter what, most likely limiter for everyone. Make sure that you keep the rest here, so that in these other places where you can control pacing and speed a little bit more, you can keep moving along. What you don't want is, like in the box jumps, after 6 you're breaking, because you could use that break here. Be more control and be more consistent here, right? Like, it's gonna be messy if you start breaking them all, like, and you can. But you have to be realistic. The only thing that you have to be realistic is with the dumbbell, right? Like the box jumps, again, we already solved that problem. You just slow them down, but you commit to not breaking them. I don't care. With the dumbbell, you have to be realistic. If 12 repetitions is too much for that weight, make peace with that, that's fine. Then break them instead of 2, right? Like 6 and 6, that's fine. Control your breaks from the beginning. Have a very clear strategy of what you're doing with the breaks, and track the fucking time, the rest time on the clock. Don't let it get out of hand. It's important to have a flexible strategy in the sense that, like, well, maybe I was being too ambitious, or maybe I was being too conservative. Too conservative is always better, especially in a workout of 15 minutes, because that means that you can speed up the last 5 minutes, right? Okay, that's in terms of strategy. What to expect from this workout? Dude, the first round, heart rate is gonna be high right away. There's no hiding in this workout. There's nothing to be done. You're gonna embrace that, and that's it. The second round is gonna slap you in the face. That's fine. That's fine. It's gonna slap you in the face. Those box jumps are gonna get a little longer. The bell's gonna start feeling heavy, and you're gonna, like, am I gonna be able to sustain? Yes, you are gonna be able to sustain. You can still do box jumps. You can still do shit. You can still do wall walks. You can. I mean, if you have trained and you know your capacity. If you're my athlete, you have. You can. No worries. But know that after that second round, it's gonna feel very hard. But that doesn't mean that you have to slow down. That doesn't mean that you cannot do it. Don't let those negative thoughts, and don't let that difficulty and that hardship stop you or slow you down. If you're pacing right, which you are, because from the beginning, I know that in the first set of 3 wall walks, you could do the 3 wall walks unbroken super fast. I know that, I have no doubt. I know that it's gonna be very hard to be like, why am I resting here? This is just a waste of time. Do it. Why am I going so slow on the box jumps? Do it. If your first round time is faster than 2 minutes, you're probably too fast. Most likely you're too fast. And so, Unless you can sustain that and you can, you know, like, tell me shut up. Why? Shut the fuck up. I can do 8 rounds. Okay. Okay. That's fine. But anyhow, so second round is gonna slap you in the face. The workout happens between minutes 4 and 10. In minutes 4 is when most people is gonna be dealing with that second round, and that's when people is gonna start slowing down. That's when hardship comes, and that's when people is like start gonna slow down, breaking more, blah 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 blah. That's where you should be consistent. That's what we attack, and by attack you mean you keep the pace at all cost. I don't care what you do, but at the 10-minute mark you're keeping that pace. You're like, wall walk, I know that after my first wall walk comes rest, I rest. Second wall walk, a little bit more of rest. Third wall walk, I go and attack dumbbell. I know in the box jumps I will get them done, it's just a matter of pacing them. Go back to the wall again, my other rest. That's it. Once you're on the 10-minute mark, you only have 5 minutes. It's gonna feel like you have a lot left. You don't have a lot left. That 5 minutes is gonna go fast, but you'll feel like you did the thing already. Because again, that this workout is gonna be winning in that window. You saw it with the pros. In that window was when one athlete crashed and the other one started passing them. It's not the first 2 rounds. The first 2 rounds is where you see who's gonna win, because the person that is not gonna win came out too hot. Don't be that person that comes out too hot and be like, wow, man, like how do I pace this, man? Like, I'm fresh, I can do 3 wall walks unbroken. Yes, you can. You can, of course you can. Of course you can. Pacing is hard because you have to slow yourself down. Keep that in mind. Anyhow, so that is it. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Grit, grit, grit. And focus your mind. When the second round comes, when it slaps you in the face, that's when you put your game face on, and that's when you stay consistent. That's when all the leaderboard is gonna start crunching, and that's where you're like, hold on guys, this is where I shine. That is it. You're gonna kill this shit. This is a fun workout. Heart rate is gonna go pretty high, but pretty awesome. And that is it. Have fun.